Well, hey, my friends, you're watching Wired Up Retro, episode number 90. Today's episode is, again, about the Gamestation Pro. It's made by MAME Arcade. It's the Atari Gamestation Pro and has on board Atari 2600, 5200, and 7800 games, as well as arcade games, even some NES or Super NES or Genesis type games. So I'm going to be going a little bit into some secrets of the controllers that a lot of you don't know about. It kind of opens up some options. Right now, the firmware, which the latest version is 1.30, has some extra amenities over and above what was originally offered by the game system. But what they haven't added yet, and maybe never will, I don't know if they will, is the mapping or remapping of controller buttons. And that would be really nice on some games, especially if you're loading in your own games that are arcade games, or let's say TurboGrafx 16, or games for the Super Nintendo. To have button remapping would be valuable. There are some issues with this game system when you're loading in those games because of button remapping. So basically, in the last couple of videos I've put up about Atari Gamestation Pro, one example would be episode number 86, another would be episode number 88. I was using smart adapters in order to do the remapping or accomplish that, so that you could get the controllers working extra well. So anyway, I'm going to kind of continue that today. I've got some smart adapters that I'm going to be showing off. And you can use some interesting controllers with it, not just its pack-in controllers, which, by my standards, they're pretty nice. They're wireless. You have a paddle on board for the paddle games for Atari 2600, and you also have this joystick that's a digital joystick. And there's 3 buttons, the A, B, and the trigger button is the C button. You have ways to select for getting into a menu that lets you change the difficulty level on your Atari games, and even change the TV type, which is nice. And then you've also got the select button and start button essentially, and then a get out of the game button, which when you press that, it goes back to the main menu. So, you got a menu system, and then you have playing the games themselves. Now, these are going to be used for playing games, menu navigation, everything, okay? In fact, they made the Gamestation Pro, fortunately, compatible with PlayStation 4 controllers. Even the DualSense PlayStation 5 controller is compatible with it. That's nice. And then this Xbox One, and this is the controller S, which is a Bluetooth-based controller. That works very well. And then there's also a compatibility with the new Xbox Series X controller as well, from what I understand. Now, these will all work in the menus and the games. Now, there is a different level of controllers that are available to be used with it that are not available as menu controlling controllers, but in-game playing controllers, okay? That would be, for instance, an Xbox 360 controller. This one will only work in the games, not in the menus. And if you plug in a Switch controller with a wire, these are all wired controllers, by the way. Every one of them have to be connected with a wire, except for these. All right, so yeah, the Switch controller, when it's wired, it'll work only in game. And you can also use, let's say, an original Xbox type controller if you plug it in with a wire. This one is actually a wireless one, but it's got its own receiver, and when plugged in using a original Xbox controller to USB adapter, which is easily found on places like eBay, that's going to get those original Xbox controllers working in the games, but not the menus, okay? Now you might ask, okay, well, if you're in the game and you want to get out of the game, how do you do that with one of these controllers? Well, the answer is you're going to have this sitting next to you on the couch, wirelessly connected, and then you're going to press this button, exit the game, and then start navigating the menu, select your game, press the A button, it gets into the game, and then some games, you don't have to turn it off, you just lay it next to you. Some games, though, you're going to have to actually physically turn this controller off, and probably this one as well, and then your controller that's wired and that's plugged in will start being utilized for gameplay. So anyway, that can be nice. And then when you want to exit the game, you just turn back on and exit the game by pressing this button. So hopefully that makes sense. Now, be aware that this only has USB Type-C connection, so you need an OTG cable that converts USB-A to USB-C. These are easily, readily available. If you buy a cell phone, it usually comes packaged with one of those. So anyway, Yeah, I guess basically where we're at right now is I want to show you some secrets of controllers that work with the Gamestation Pro. And I'm going to show you some unique things, like let's say you want to use one of these without the wire, like the Xbox One or the PlayStation 4 controller. There are ways to do that. And there are some caveats or downsides, and I want to try to figure out ways to eliminate those downsides. So anyway, I will show you the best ways to get some of these wirelessly working. I'm also going to show you some unique ways to play the paddle games. I've got a little 3D printed steering wheel that is put on my PlayStation 4 controller, and they also make these for Xbox One controllers that will enable you to have really good control in your paddle games for the Atari 2600 on board the Gamestation Pro. So you can have one of these printed up or find them on eBay and buy one for 10 bucks or whatever, 15 bucks, and it will help you play those paddle games, and in a unique way it kind of adds to the fun. I recently purchased this. In fact, just yesterday I picked this up, and this is a wireless switch controller that actually kind of lights up and looks pretty cool. This actually has back buttons, and there might be a reason to use some back buttons on a controller, and I'll go into that in this episode today. And that has to do with some of the issues with mapping I'll be showing off. I also want to show this off in a few minutes as well. All right, so yeah, let's get into this. I will show off some of these adapters and help circumvent some of the issues that are going to arise. Now, there is an elephant in the room. Obviously, this is going to be used in the episode, the X-Arcade Tankstick, and I've got a way of using this with the Gamestation Pro. So let's go over that. I'm going to show you a couple adapters. Now, when you buy the Gamer Pro Advanced, you're going to load it up with the proper firmware, and it can also be used with another product that's made by that same company, Bliss-Box, called the Bliss-Box Bridge. So if you're using this by itself without the bridge, then you're going to just get in-game controls, or like Xbox 360 controllers offer. But if you use this with the bridge, then you can get additional compatibility, which is kind of extra nice. But anyway, you watch that video. Episode 86 is a very good one. Now, when you buy this, you're going to buy a lot of different cables. I've got, one for the Atari 2600 here, one for the Super Nintendo here, a PlayStation adapter. Oh, and this one is a GameCube controller adapter. So that plugs in right here, okay? And that Gamer Pro Advanced is going to get plugged right into that little mini adapter. And your game, you could use a GameCube controller to play your games with this. That's certainly going to work. And by the way, the Gamer Pro Advanced has to be prepped beforehand with a certain mapping specification. And again, watch episode 86 to have that gone over. But anyway, so I'm not going to use a GameCube controller in here. I'm going to use something that's for the X-Arcade Tankstick. So the Tankstick 5-in-1 adapter basically works with PlayStation 1 and 2, that's two of them, Dreamcast and GameCube, or you could say Wii for the Wii systems that have a GameCube port on board. So anyway, this is player 1, I believe this is player 2, and you take player 1 GameCube connection and plug that into your Gamer Pro Advanced. Okay, so once that's running in, this will light up, and I'm going to go ahead and move this to the side. Now here we have the game Phoenix, which is an arcade game on MAME. I actually loaded the game in, and it's working very nicely on my GSP with this tank stick. Feels like playing it in the arcade. Yeah, just be aware you're not going to be able to use that trackball with the 5-in-1 adapter. It just allows you to use the joystick. I'm running the GSP Firmware 1.3c, which is a custom firmware. And throughout this episode, you'll notice that I have not only added some interesting games to my GSP, but also artwork that goes along with them through a tutorial that was made by Gen X Grown Up. So you can check out his YouTube channel, and you'll see how that's done. So now I'm just going to show you the basics on getting a PlayStation 4 controller, DualShock 4 connected to the GSP. And you're going to need that USB-A to USB-C little connector adapter there, and then you just plug your controller in direct and it's going to work. So I'll play a little bit of Atari 5200 Beef Drop. This is a game I played a lot as a kid at my place on the 2600. Good game. Uh-oh, they got me cornered. Now I'm going to show you how I'm going to do the first method of making this wireless, okay? Okay, so the most expensive method I could possibly think of to get the PlayStation 4 controller, DualShock 4, wirelessly compatible with the Gamestation Pro is to basically use a Cronusmax Plus controller adapter, which is going to set you back $60, maybe $70. If you're on a bad day, it'll be $80. Anyway, if you plug this directly in to your Gamestation Pro, it's now seeking for a controller. Now, I can't wirelessly connect it to that. It needs a little USB Bluetooth connector. I'll put some information about that in the description below. You do have to preset this using the software Cronus Pro. Okay, so anyway, I have preset these to be compatible with each other. So at this point, what I'm going to do is turn on the PlayStation 4 controller by pressing those two buttons, and we're getting immediate connection. So at this point, we are completely connected. I just need to know which button to press here. Okay, it's the O button, circle button. So it's working. I can use the thumbstick to direct my little guy. I can also use the D-pad for that. There we go. Yikes. All right, so it's working. It does work fine. I'm not detecting any noticeable lag. I would say feels good to play it with the D-pad, feels good to play it with the thumbstick. All right, so I could also add a that little wheel to this in order to get it working. All right, let's go ahead and try out the game. I'm gonna send the ball. Ah, yeah, sensitive. Try again. Oh man. I think here we go. Now, one thing I'm noticing is that the stick has to be all the way to the left to be left, and the middle is right here, and to the right, I honestly don't have to go all the way right to get it to go right. So it's almost like in the middle here, a little to the left here, and then all the way left here. All right, so yeah, looks like it's doing what it's supposed to. That's a good sign. All right, we'll go ahead and send the ball here. Oh yeah, this is definitely not too sensitive. I think it feels actually pretty good. Oh, all right, so yeah, it's working. Now, on one of my Wired Up Retro episodes, I showed a way to attach a paddle top to this, so I'm going to put a link up above, and you can check that out. Well, okay, you know, we're having some fun here. It definitely works, and I'm pleased with the outcome of this particular adapter. The only downside really is the cost. So I want to show you some other options that you might like better because of the lower cost. Okay, so when it comes to the low-cost adapters, such as, let's say, the Mayflash Magic NS, this is one example. This enables you to actually navigate the menus and also play the games, sort of like the Cronusmax Plus. But there's a couple of downsides, and I will be touching on that here in a minute. So there's another one made by Mayflash called the Magic S Pro. And this actually has the same caveats, and in fact, there's some differences between these two adapters, but mostly they're about the same, pretty close actually. Now this particular adapter is called the N100 Plus, and so another nice thing about this one is it has a full range of remapping capability. So I do like this for that purpose, but unfortunately this particular one doesn't have a mode that allows you to navigate the menus. You can only play the games, you know, sort of like the Xbox 360 controllers. You can't navigate the menus, just get into the game now that you can play the game. So anyway, I'll go into this one a little bit further here in a couple of minutes. All right, so let's go ahead and plug in the Magic NS adapter. All right, and you know, this does have a USB port, all these do, and you could direct wire controllers to these adapters, but I'm kind of more interested in the wireless capability, so let's do that. So I'm going to go ahead and press this PS Home button and the Share button on this controller. Now we've got the connection process going on here, and I'm sure that'll connect here. Okay, it did. So yeah, you can basically just take the D-pad, and you know, if you go back to the menu, you can see I'm navigating the menu just fine. So yeah, I do want to show you this little steering wheel with Enduro, just for the fun of it. We'll give that a try. Now when it's in yellow mode, your controller, whether it be this Xbox One controller or this controller or any of the others, the L1 button is your primary fire button, okay? That can be okay, let's say in a game like this where you use a wheel, because you're going to have one hand on the wheel and one hand on your gas. So that's fine, but if you were playing just a regular old game and you had your thumb on this thumbstick and you're wanting to fire, usually you want to fire off on this side, but using two hands. But this would make you fire like that while controlling your direction. It's kind of a hassle. So there's another mode that's called the green mode, okay? That particular X input mode puts the fire button over here on, I think, A or B. So that works really well, but unfortunately green mode won't allow you to navigate the menus, just play the games. So anyway, there's, like I said, some caveats, but hopefully that makes sense. All right, so let's get this game started. Let's press the start button. Here we go. Oh. It feels pretty good. I mean, it's not analog, but it is working with the wheel. I'm gonna have to perfect my game, it looks like. Now another thing I want to show you about this little paddle wheel is that on the paddle games, let's go up to the paddle games here. Start the game. I was using it on Enduro, which is a digital game. Digital controls mean joystick type controls, not designed as a paddle game. Unfortunately, when this is in yellow mode, the Magic NS or the Magic S Pro, you're not going to have any way to control the paddle games in yellow mode. Let me show you that. See, there's zero control in yellow mode. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch this by pressing the button to a different color mode, green mode, okay? So yeah, to start the game on this, I think you press the right, yeah, that's kind of like the reset or start button, all right? And then you press the circle button to get the ball rolling here. Okay, try again. There we go. Yeah, it's pretty sensitive, and I've got this on the lowest paddle sensitivity setting that you can set it to on the game system. But yeah, it's pretty sensitive. But yeah, you can see it's working in green light mode, and if you're using the Magic S Pro, it's not going to be green light mode, it's going to be blue light mode that you're going to want to use. Okay, So yeah, you get the idea. Now in this particular mode, if you want to back out, you just press the start or the home button and you're back out to the menus. In the menus though, there's no way to control when you're in green mode. So that's where this comes in. I've already got it turned on. You can easily navigate the menus, get back to any menu that you want it to be at. Another thing I'll show you that's kind of interesting about the green mode is it works really good on the 2600 games. For games where you want the button on the right and the thumbstick on the left. All right, so I'm just going to pop this off, and once you've got your controller back into its normal state, you can play a little Berserk. Just press that circle button to get it started. There we go. Yikes. So yeah, green mode's kind of friendly for those who don't want that fire button to be up here on the L1 button. Now in this Pac-Man game, I'm using the thumbstick at the moment, but soon you'll see me make an attempt to use the D-pad. There I am. Oh boy, no D-pad. That's the downside of the green mode. So anyway, just thought I'd show you that. When it comes to the Magic NS, some will like the green light mode even though it has no menu navigation and makes you use the analog stick instead of the D-pad. But others will prefer yellow mode with its ability to have menu navigation and D-pad access, though it requires you to fire with that L1 button and unfortunately lacks paddle game compatibility. Okay, I'll show you the two solutions I've come up with for the yellow mode L1 button issue. Now another thing that you can do, if you don't like that yellow mode L1 button being your primary fire button, is to add an attachment for your DualShock 4 that's known as the back button attachment. Okay, and this is official Sony product, and it just attaches to the back of the controller. So I'm going to go ahead and attach that. It's got a little 1/8 inch plug or 3.5 millimeter plug. All right, so now I've got it connected to the controller, and when you press that, it will just give you the opportunity here to program these. Oh yeah, there it is. And I've got this set to be the L1 controller button, so it's on the right side of the controller. So now I'm using this hand to get fire button activity, and that hand can get the D-pad and the thumbstick control. Okay, so it's kind of nice. Now this game doesn't use a lot of fire button. It doesn't use the fire button. So let's get out of this game. We'll try another game that has the fire button and see how that works. Okay, so I think a game of Joust might give you the proof that I would enjoy using my right hand to do the tapping of the button and the left hand to do the controls. And again, I can use thumbstick or D-pad when it's in yellow mode. Let's give that a try. I'm going to use the index finger on that to tap the button. All right, so yeah, it was working pretty well. I did find that my thumb area kind of got a little tired of gripping this while tapping that. So yeah, that's it's okay. It's definitely it's going to be an acquired taste. Now there's another option, and that would be to buy controllers that already have back buttons built in. Well, okay, we're going to attempt to wirelessly connect my Press Play wireless LED gaming remote, that's its name, for the Switch or PC or maybe PS3 to the Gamestation Pro through wireless means. Now, so I've come upon a couple ways to do this. All right, so the first way is to put your Magic NS in there, and that would be in yellow mode, okay? And then we're going to then plug a 8-bit DOE wireless USB adapter. This is actually version 2. It's got a little 2 on it. Version 1 doesn't work, but version 2 of the 8-bit DOE is going to work. So once you plug that into the Magic NS, then it's just going to be lighting up in a brief way. But when you tap that, it'll constantly be on flashing. So that will be an indicator it's ready to receive the signal. So to get this to work, this center home button and Y have to be pressed at the same time. And that goes up and down really quickly. And it rumbles when we got connection. Okay? So now, since this is in yellow mode, you can actually get control in the menus with both D-pad, thumbstick, everything is working as we would hope. So anyway, yeah, so this works. Another way to get it working would be to get a Brook X1 adapter. This is for P3 and P4 controllers to work on Xbox One. And since this has a PC capability, or I guess PS3, it does actually work. Instead of the 8-bit DOE, you could substitute it. But this, unfortunately, is a very expensive adapter. I think it's over 50 bucks. So yeah, this might be 20 for that one and 20 for that one, or 25. And that adds up to 40, 45 bucks for a total cost there. So it's not crazy high, and it works. So I'll go ahead and show you some gameplay of Defender. Okay, so my main fire button is up there on that shoulder button, which I don't like. So what I'm going to invite you to do is to change out that to the back button over here on the right side. So that can be done just by reading its instructions. Okay, so to program it, you're going to take the macro button and the button you want programmed back here, hold them at the same time for about 3 seconds. And now that blinked. Now I'm going to tap the button I want to convert to that, and then that button. Okay, so that hopefully works. Now I noticed on Defender, this is a 5200 game, you have to kind of move the stick around to get it calibrated. Gotta get to him. Oh, shoot. Got him. Whew. Whoa. All right, that went well. So yeah, my glowing LED controller really works well, but you know, there's something I want to tell you that a lot of people don't know about the Gamestation Pro, and that is that it has, for the Atari 5200 games, the capability of getting to a keypad mode, which allows you to select from numbers 1 through 9, press a pound, press an asterisk. It's kind of got an extra feature, and let me show you how that works. So if you start the game, once you're in the game, it'll start here in a sec. All right. You tap that button, it's that L1 button, and when you're direct connected, you could select whatever number you want with the A button, I believe. And when you want to get out of there, you tap that and you're back to your main screen. So it brings up that keypad access, which, you know, can be very helpful on certain 5200 games. You know, I don't think it's going to be that helpful on Defender. I guess you could select for one player 1 for easy, 2 for normal, 3 for hard. So let's go ahead and bring that menu back up, and I'll just press 2 for normal. I often play on easy, and all right. And then when we get out of there, we press the start button. It might be a little harder than it was before. And I'm still on level 1, so it's not that hard. There we go. Got me. Yeah, see, that's harder. Normal is harder than easy, for sure. All right. All right. So anyway, I just thought I'd share that little tidbit with you. Now, there's another way to connect this, and that would be to combine the Magic NS with this, which is the N100 Plus. And this has to be in yellow mode, this will be in green mode. If you do that, you can get this connected and it'll work the same. Oh yeah, another thing I'll share with you is that this is a 8-bit do SNK Neo Geo mini pad, which is a wireless pad. I really like this, and it's kind of got a clicky D-pad. So the way to connect this is the very same way I initially showed you this wirelessly connecting. You're going to use your Magic NS, and you're going to use this 8-bit do with the 2 imprinted on it, and I'll just press the button, get it constantly flashing, and then I'll just press the start button, and this will quickly connect with that. There it is, it's connected. You know, I have actually some good news. I've figured out a way to use this 8-bit do Neo Geo wireless controller with these 2 adapters, and that is, instead of using it in yellow mode, you're going to use it in a different mode, which is like a light blue flashing light mode. So I'm going to plug it in, and to get it to that, I'm just go from green and holding the button, it'll switch to a light blue mode. That's the next mode over. And then you plug your 8-bit do USB wireless adapter version 2, and I'm going to go ahead and tap that seek button, and we'll go ahead and press the start button, and it should automatically connect here in a moment. And now you'll notice something. I don't have menu control because the light blue mode doesn't have that like the yellow mode does, but I can just use this controller to select the game that I want. Okay, so we'll try Pitfall and see if we can get this working. I did have to unplug it and replug it. So anyways, here we are in the game. I noticed something here about this. You press the action button, nothing happens. Left and right, oh, left and right, something happens. Anyway, I'm actually able to play it with that right hand on the A button of this controller. Press down. All right, precision is there, so you get the idea. You can play Pitfall with it, so if you can do that, it's apparently pretty accurate. Okay, so I'm going to hook something else up to this combination. Instead of having it in this blue mode, I'm going to put it back to yellow. So give me a minute, I'll bring it back to yellow. I want to show you the use of PlayStation controllers. Now, I've done this on another wired up retro using a different adapter, the Gamer Pro Advanced, but I do want to show you an alternate method in case you want to just know about this. So you're going to use these 2. This will be in blinking yellow mode. I have this 8-bit do G-Bros adapter, which is a wireless way of connecting to this particular 8-bit do wireless USB connector. And so that's kind of easy to connect. I'm going to go ahead and hit it so it blinks with that blue light. To start this connection process, you turn it on by pressing the red button briefly, and then press the yellow button for about 3 seconds, and it will start quickly blinking, and these 2 will wirelessly connect. So I want to tell you what this connects to once it's got that connection. Okay, it stopped. It's a solid light now. So you could connect a GameCube controller in here, or you could do this Wii Classic controller connection in there. That's what interests me at this moment. So I've got PlayStation 1 controllers that I think could be really nice to use with this, but you know, I've tried the Mayflash one with that connector to go in there, and it doesn't work. It's not compatible, unfortunately. So there's another one I've got. This is probably made in Asia somewhere, maybe China. I got this cheaply one day at a thrift store, and this PlayStation connector tends to work with this. So I've got my Barracuda made by Interact for the PS1, and we'll get this all connected and we'll see how it works to play the games. Now mind you, we're in yellow mode, so this is going to enable us to control the menus and the games. But again, we got that issue with the L1 button being the primary fire button, which is not the ideal. All right, now I got it plugged in. Let's see here, and I've got this in, I think, dual shock, dual analog mode. But yeah, you can see I'm getting nice control with the thumbstick. This is a programmable controller, and I programmed the L1 button to be over here on circle, which is kind of nice. So anyway, let me find a game, and I'll just show you this in action. Okay, yeah, I'll just show it working on Zaxxon just for fun here. There we go. 5200 Zaxxon in action. Now there's so many awesome games you can load into this GSP. And for the 5200, some of them are going to have digital controls like this one, and other ones are going to have more analog controls. And for that, you're going to probably want an analog capable controller. A good example of that is an Xbox 360 controller made by Mad Catz that plugs into the GSP, and that's called the Mad Catz Gamestick for the Xbox Arcade. So you might want to invest in that. So I've plugged in my N100 Plus, and I've got this connected to the DualShock 4 controller, okay? And it's in green light mode. Now green light mode, compared to this Magic NS, when this is in green light mode, it's real similar to this. You're going to have one of these face buttons being the primary fire button, not this L1 button, fortunately. And this would have no menu navigation, just gameplay control, and same with this. And then I believe this will enable you to use either thumbstick or D-pad when playing the game. This one only lets you use the thumbstick, no D-pad. So this is maybe a little bit better when it's in green mode than this is in green mode, okay? And it does allow for paddle games. So anyway, this one didn't allow in yellow mode the paddle games to work, but in green mode it did. So they're similar in that respect as well. All right, so I want to show you something that kind of builds on this. I think you're going to like this. Okay, so on this method, I'm going to use the Magic NS. It's in yellow mode, and I have this N100 Plus, okay? And if I plug that in right here, and I've got it in green mode, which is X input, okay? So in order to pair these two together, I'm going to tap it once, and it'll start blinking with a different rhythm. And then I will go ahead and hold these two buttons on the PS4 controller, waiting for it to start quickly blinking like that. And it looks like we do have connection. All right, so let's see if it works in the menus. It tends to work in the menus, that's a good thing. And I think we're still going to be stuck with this button here. Let's find a different game. Chopper command, let's try that. So that, again, is our fire button. Now the neat thing about the N100 Plus is that you can change the mapping. Okay, so what you're going to want to do is press the PS button, the home button, and the circle button at the same time until you get a little buzz. Okay, and then once you've done that, then you tap the button you want to convert this L1 to. So that one, it buzzed a little bit. Tap this one, and then press the PS button. It buzzed again. So now what I've done is I've taken that button and moved it over to circle. So it should work, hopefully. All right, let's find out. So wirelessly, we're able to not have to press that L1 button, which is a pain. It's a lot easier to use the right hand. It's a two-handed method, a lot easier. The thumbstick works, the D-pad works as well. And another neat thing is that you can, once you get into the menu, this will work on the menus too. Because this Magic NS is in yellow mode, you get both gameplay mode and menus. Okay, so what I'm also going to show you here, if I press that PS button or home button, I get this, which is the menu button. It's like hitting the menu button on this, which is here. It's unlike hitting the home button on this. So the only way you can get a home press is, from what I understand, pressing the home button on this controller. Okay, let me go ahead and do that. Or you can press this, which would take you out of the game as well. This button will do that. Anyway, but yeah, I definitely have menu control with the DualShock. Either D-pad or thumbstick will do that. And let's get out of there, and yeah. So that works very, very well. This method is just a little more expensive because you had to buy the N100 Plus, add that to your $19.99, and you're up to a mid-40s, okay? Plus whatever shipping there is. So yeah, this one's a little bit more of an expensive method, but it is kind of nice to be able to have the menu control as well as the game control and not have that daggone L1 button being your fire button. All right, so hopefully that makes sense. This is really a very, very good method. The next section also uses the Magic NS combined with the N100 Plus to bring extra controller compatibility. This time we'll be getting into the Super Nintendo emulator that's installed in the GSP. You're going to need firmware version 1.30, not 1.20 for this to work. Also be aware that the Magic NS2 will not work on the Super Nintendo emulator control adaptations that I'm about to show. The original Magic NS is required. All right, so I've got Williams Arcade's Greatest Hits up on the screen. This is a Super NES game that's on board my Atari Gamestation Pro. And this, this emulator actually has some issues with button mapping on controllers. I've got this direct mapped to, direct wired to my Magic NS, which is running in yellow mode, and then you've got the N100 Plus in green mode. And, I don't have any code running in this to do button mapping, so I just want to show you what the results are for, let's say, the game Robotron 2084. What a great game to work out mapping, because, this will run the guy around in different directions, and then X will shoot down, square would shoot left, and then circle right, triangle shoots up. So really what I want to do is just show you the gameplay here with no code in it. X shoots to the left, circle, hey, that shoots to the right. That's actually what I want it to do. Triangle does nothing, square shoots up, and then L1 shoots down, so they're all jumbled and mixed up. And if I even direct wired it through the system, there would be all sorts of problems with button mapping. It's hard to play the game like that. So let's get out of here. Okay, so I want to show you the mapping of this N100 Plus. It's actually kind of easy to do. I'm going to actually do a 3-step programming process, okay? So it'd be 3 different sequences of program steps, and then you're done, okay? Now, if you make a mistake, let's say you're on your second sequence and you totally mess it up, to erase the whole N100 of the sequences that you've done, you press the home button and the circle and release, and then hold this PlayStation home button down for about 3 seconds, and it'll do a double rumble, okay? So that tells you that you've now wiped the memory and you're ready to do it again. So you make another attempt. Okay. Okay, so let's go ahead. I'm going to just implement this here. PlayStation circle, that did a little rumble. And I'm going to press triangle and square and press the PlayStation home button. It did rumble again. And each button press is giving me a rumble. I'm going to press PlayStation and circle again, and square and X and PlayStation home. Okay, that was the second little sequence. And then we're on to PlayStation and circle again, at home button and circle. And then you press X, L1, L1, and then X, okay? And then press the PlayStation home button. You're now in. The code has been implemented. This kind of reminds me of the days of old video games where you used to implement, let's say, the Konami code to play some Konami game. Accessing new levels or new weapons, or, it's always very exciting to do a little video game code. So anyway, this is going to give me access to proper mapping. Pretty awesome. So I press the circle button to get started, and we're going to go ahead and press triangle to shoot up. Circle shoots to the right, and then X is shooting down. Yeah, it works. So this is pretty encouraging. All right, I'm going to go ahead and show you something else. The emulator that's on board a Atari Gamestation Pro for the Super Nintendo has a capability to use X, square, circle, triangle, but when you are using these four, there's going to be something missing, okay? There's going to be possibly the shoulder buttons for the Super Nintendo L and R are going to not be available to you. Or if, let's say, you're in another mode, let's say I got this, instead of yellow mode, I'm switched over to the red mode. Well, the red mode might actually have Super Nintendo shoulder buttons active, but unfortunately, then it's missing one of the face buttons, which ruins the whole deal. So you can, you know, let's say I wanted to play Total Carnage, you know, that's a similar type game to Robotron. You're going to run the man around, you're going to shoot down, left, right, and then maybe have a missing button. But then you'd be able to access this button right here to lay a mine, which is part of the game and part of the gameplay. But you know, if you can't shoot right, that's a huge part of the game missing. So this is a downside. You know, maybe there'll be a firmware update eventually, and we'll actually see them, you know, get the emulator the right way in the system with good button mapping, or maybe the ability to remap controllers. But for now, the way it is right now, this will play Super NES games that just have face buttons, and I just left the L and R button out, because I don't want to be missing one of these buttons. I hope this all makes sense. Now, you know, from what I understand, the Super Mario World game for Super Nintendo does make use of these left and right buttons by shifting the screen a little to the right or a little to the left while you're playing the game to kind of help you see what's ahead. It's really not that big of a gameplay factor, so you could probably play that game just fine using just face buttons. But if you're trying to play Aladdin, you know, you're going to want to throw that parachute above your head every once in a while when you're jumping off of a cliff or something, and you know, waft downwards. That is what the shoulder buttons do. So that game probably not going to be so effective. But a game like this, this is going to be pretty effective, just because it's a face button only game. Now let's discuss a unique complication having to do with Super Nintendo games that I ran into this past week. So recently I bought a Magic NS2 to add to my repertoire of these little adapter pluggies. Okay, so I thought, well, you know, but is it like Magic NS, or is it like Magic S Pro? Does it have pros and cons? Maybe it would solve some of these problems I've talked to you about with the Super NES emulator. Well, it actually didn't solve any of them. The same issues were arising with this. And an odd thing happened after I plugged in the Magic NS2 and tried it and did some things trying to figure out if it would help. I unplugged it and I went back to my regular Magic NS and my N100 plugged into it, and I had a major problem, and that was I could no longer shoot up by pressing triangle. In fact, I was having to redo the code, and what I was noticing was it had implemented the select button and triangle right here on that button, okay, simultaneously pressed. Now that was kind of a problem, because in this game you can actually set the you can set auto fire by pressing the select button, or this is share button. And so when they were simultaneously being pressed, with each time I'd press that button and I'd be firing up, I'd also be selecting auto fire, which was not really what I wanted to do. So I was thinking, wow, what has happened? I'm in some weird new mode. So I zeroed this adapter out with this mapping, and I figured that would fix it, and it did not. So anyway, I was kind of like, well, I guess this is kind of shot. So I let it sit for the night. I don't know, sometimes electrical things, if you let it just sit and simmer unplugged, then you plug it back in 24 hours later, it might do something different. So anyway, while I was at work today, I was doing a little reading, and I found out that some of the Gamestation Pro players were using back button controllers. Let's say the PDP rematch controller for the Xbox One. They're using those back buttons. If they press it in, on Super Nintendo emulator, you actually get less issues, or it eradicates the issue of a simultaneous button press. And I read about that, so I thought, well, do I have a back button controller for, let's say, Xbox One. Well, I don't, but I do have a PS4 Backbuttons controller, and this is called the, this is actually straight from China, the Q300 for P4, iOS, Android, and PC. So this controller, it's kind of like an elite controller, but not terribly expensive. I think I spent 25 bucks for the, I think it was 20. So anyways, I got this, and I didn't like the way the grips felt. They felt too slippery, so I added these lizard skins, and I like the feel of that better. But this does have these back buttons. So anyway, I plugged these two in, I plugged this in, and I pressed the back buttons a couple times, and then I unplugged this and plugged it back in. I pressed the back button a couple more times. It was still doing the same problem it was doing last night, but suddenly it stopped doing that, okay? So I don't know if it was the back buttons that kind of brought it out of some weird mode that it was in, or if it was just, you know, it sat for a day and eventually worked itself out. But this thing is now working. This will work with at least the front base buttons in the way that I programmed in the N100 Plus. So hopefully this is all understandable. Okay, so there's another cool thing that I decided to try, which has to do with using a certain type of PlayStation 2 controller with these two adapters. Now you might say, well, how in the world are you going to connect a PS2 controller to these two adapters? Well, you're going to need a special adapter that takes PS2 controllers and converts them to an Xbox 360 output. Okay, and these used to be pretty common on the market. I bought it when it was called the Itaki PlayStation 2 to Xbox 360 adapter, and then another name is the Ostent PS2 to Xbox 360 adapter, and it's even got a third name called McBasil. If you look it up online, you might be able to find it at a store in Asia or maybe here in the US. Now, I actually did take a look around, and I found it over on AliExpress for 33 bucks. It's not called by those names I was saying. It's the 3-in-1 converter, so you might want to look for that. And I found that the N100 is pretty rare, but it's over at Alibaba.com, so you can check that out if you're looking to obtain one. And you know, when it comes to that PS2 to Xbox 360 converter, in the next upcoming 5, 6, 12 months, it's probably going to become so rare that it gets really expensive, so just be aware of that. If you have one of these, this is going to be an interesting way to get the games working. So let me go ahead and unplug the PS4 controller. It's now turned off, and I've got this, this special PlayStation 2 controller. This is called the Cytec PX5000. And this has a special capability, and that is when you're in digital mode, you can run around the man with this left D-pad, and then instead of pressing these buttons, this actually has a special capability of using this stick, and when you press right, it's equivalent of a circle button press, and square button press is to the left, and X, and then triangle. You get that? So a lot of controllers don't have this feature. This one actually does. So now I'll show you how to get it set up to play Robotron in a very good way. Okay, so I got my PS4 controller disconnected by its wire and connected just wirelessly to the N100 Plus. This is going to be the controller that I'll implement the coding with. I'm not going to implement it with this, mainly because this doesn't have a PS home button to press. So yeah, I will go ahead and show you how it's done. I have not yet connected this. I will after I implement the code. So let's go ahead. I'm going to show you how to do that. It's another three-step process here. So I'm going to press the home button with the circle at the same time. Got a little rumble, triangle, and then X, and then PlayStation home button. Get another rumble. And this is step 2. We're going to press the PlayStation home button and circle. And then we're pressing X, L1, L1, and X. And then press the PlayStation home button again. And the third step is to hit PlayStation home button and circle simultaneously, X, square, square, L1, and then PlayStation home button. Okay. Oh, and by the way, before I did any of this, I did wipe the memory. I told you already how to do that. So, all right, if I try to play Robotron now with this code implemented with this controller, it's not going to work properly. But with this controller, not set in analog mode, but in digital mode, the old school early PlayStation mode, that's what's going to work with the thumbstick. Now, even these buttons aren't going to have the right positioning. This will, and this will, okay? So this is a dual stick implementation, strictly with this kind of controller, the Cytec PX5000. There might be other PlayStation controllers on the market that use this, have this special feature. I don't know, but this one definitely has that. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and start the game. And I'm just pressing X button. Okay, so I'm gonna press analog to turn the controller to be a digital controller instead of analog. And that light went out when I did that. Pressing right, it's working. So I've got dual stick Super Nintendo Robotron, which I don't think we've ever seen anybody do before, so this is definitely a first. Get my people saved here. All right, working, and it works excellent. Now, if I try pressing these buttons, they're all screwed up. Again, I spent a little bit of time working on this, so hopefully you guys appreciate it. I don't know if anybody's going to try this at home, but you know, if you don't, that's quite all right. I'm just glad that I can show it to you that it's possible. Okay, it's actually possible. Thanks to the N100, and whoever designed it is, you know, they made a really nice device for all of us to play games with. All right, well, the episode's coming to a close. I was going to go into a little bit more about paddle games and certain PlayStation original controllers or PlayStation 2 controllers. This is the Mega Racer, and I've got a unique little adapter that's PlayStation 2 to PS3, or you could say USB. This is kind of a tough adapter to find nowadays, but you know, if you have this particular kind of adapter, you could definitely get the Mega Racer working for paddle games, and it works pretty nicely. And each of these PlayStation to USB controller adapters will work with it, and that Magic NS would have to be in green mode. Also, the top drive reactor made by Logic 3 is also a good paddle controller for either racing games or paddle games on the Gamestation Pro. So you could check that out. And again, maybe even get yourself a Gamer Pro Advanced. There is actually a new Gamer Pro device coming out that's basically another version of what's called 4Play. It's a 4-port Gamer Pro Advanced. So it's pretty neat to see that coming out, and a lot of people are pretty excited about it. So I'll put a link in the description below if you're interested in obtaining that product. All right, so hopefully you guys enjoyed the episode. I have one coming up that's going to have to do with using pretty snazzy looking controllers on some game systems that you may have not expected me to use those controllers on. So definitely stay tuned. If you enjoyed the video, give me a like. If you haven't tapped the bell to get notifications from my YouTube channel, definitely do that so you can stay up to date with my videos that I put out. All right, so yeah, I think we're about at the end. I hope you guys have a lot of fun gaming out there. You take care.